Week 11 of the Premier League is just around the corner, so I'm going to be predicting every single game alongside ChatGPT and the Random Football Scoreline Generator. I won, and I'm winning. I got 8 points, so did the Random Football Scoreline Generator, and ChatGPT is losing with 4 points last week. And I'm winning overall, so it's time for me and the other two geezers to predict this week, and hopefully I can win. Over to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester United. Manchester United, what a goal by Amad Diallo late on. You only just about scraped it against relegation contesters at the moment, Nottingham Forest. Although, to be fair, Nottingham Forest did put up a very good fight, and they are improving. Man United, you're now facing Tottenham, which was really disappointing, versus Chelsea last time out. They lost at 1-0. And at the moment, in terms of how both teams are performing, I would say it's pretty equal. In terms of Tottenham's delivery, I know they did score forced past Copenhagen, but when they faced Chelsea, their delivery was poor. And someone like Xavi Simons was not working against Chelsea. Yes, he had a decent game and got an assist against Copenhagen. This is completely different though. And I have not been impressed with Xavi Simons. And because Bergvall, because Kulusevski, because James Maddison, Basuma, because there's so many injuries in the attacking areas, I don't think Spurs are going to score many. I'm going to give them a goal because they still do have some good attackers. But Man United have been looking pretty decent lately. I know you might be disappointed if you're a Man United fan against Nottingham Forest, but still, players like Matheus Cunha, players like Amad Diallo, players like Brian Mbeumo, Bruno Fernandes are still performing. I mean, Casemiro just scored again. So in my opinion, both are very similar positions in the table. Both are performing very similar. And I don't know who's going to win. So that only means one thing. I'm going to have to sit on the fence with a 1-1 draw between Tottenham and Manchester United.
Spurs keep slipping at home and United look sharper lately. So 2-1 to Manchester United, taking advantage of Tottenham's defensive gaps.
Everton versus Fulham. Now Fulham, well done on your 3-1 victory over Wolves. You made Vitor Pereira get sacked, and really it could have easily been 3-0. You thrashed Wolves. But facing the Hill Dickinson Stadium, it's going to be tougher than that Wolves game. And throughout the season, Fulham, I haven't been impressed, and I think they will concede a goal, definitely. With players like Iliman Ndiaye looking absolutely exciting. Scored a fantastic goal in their last game against Sunderland. Well done, Everton, actually picking up a point at the Stadium of Light. It can be very hard to pick up a point there. But Everton, you look really good. Players like Iliman Ndiaye, players like Jack Grealish are really crucial in the attack. And they don't just have great attackers, they've got good defenders. And in my opinion, overall, Everton at home is already going to give them an advantage. And this season, I've been more impressed with Everton. So I'm really confident with Everton. I'm going 1-0 just about. It's going to be a close game. And on paper, these teams are very equal. But in terms of scoring goals, I think Fulham are lackluster in doing so throughout the season.
Everton stronger at the Hill Dickinson, Fulham poor away. So 2-1 to Everton with home form deciding it.
Over to the London Stadium, West Ham United versus Burnley. West Ham United, you finally got a win under Nuno Espirito Santos. And you got the win from being 1-0 down against a really good team in Newcastle United. That shocked everyone. I mean, I'd rather not say this, but I said 4-0 to Newcastle. I got that completely wrong, and I underestimated West Ham. Jarrod Bowen was getting chance after chance, and the counter-attacking football that we saw Nuno Espirito Santos achieve at Nottingham Forest is starting to show at West Ham. And now they've finally got that win, I think they can win again. This time it's against Burnley. And fair play to Burnley, they did have a hard game against Arsenal. But it's Burnley. They have been doing decent to stay up at the moment, but they still haven't been doing fantastic. And with West Ham winning 3-1 against Newcastle the way they did, I definitely feel like West Ham can win. Nuno Espirito Santos has finally properly integrated his system. They're going to be able to win this 2-1. And West Ham are gonna thrive.
West Ham's quality should edge Burnley's fight, so 2-1 to West Ham, with Bowen likely on target.
Sunderland at the Stadium of Light facing the Gunners. 3-0 to the Gunners. I know you might think Sunderland had been doing really well. Yes, they did get a good point versus Everton, but look at Arsenal. Arsenal have beat Burnley 2-0, and they're constantly getting clean sheets. And I think they can score 3 goals again. They just look flawless. Sorry, Sunderland, but no team is scoring against Arsenal.
Sunderland's spirit won't be enough. 3-0 to Arsenal. Class too much to handle.
Over to Stamford Bridge, Chelsea versus Wolves. Wolves no longer has Vitor Pereira in charge, and I think the latest news was Rob Edwards possibly coming to Wolves, but Middlesbrough has actually rejected that, so I don't know who Wolves' manager's going to be. And either way, it wouldn't affect anything, because it's going to take time for the manager to integrate his system, and they looked terrible against Fulham. I mean, that is rock bottom for Wolves. 3-2 to Chelsea. Chelsea already proved they could beat Wolves in the Carabao Cup, winning 4-3, and it was high scoring then, so I think it's going to be high scoring again. Whoever's in charge, it doesn't matter. The players at Wolves are going to give it their all, and there's going to be goals again. Chelsea have not looked perfect, especially against Qarabag, only getting a 2-2 draw, which I said 6-1 to Chelsea in my Champions League predictions, but we won't get onto that. Chelsea should win this.
Chelsea's attack with João Pedro and Neto looks far sharper than Wolves' inconsistent front line. So, 3-1 to Chelsea, with Pedro leading the charge.
Selhurst Park up next, Crystal Palace versus Brighton out of Albion. This is a game where both these sides are fighting for Europe. Brighton got a flawless, confident win versus Leeds, 3-0, whilst Crystal Palace got a comfortable 2-0 win versus Brentford. You know what? I can't split it. Both teams look really, really good. They're really, really equal. This is the Random Football Scoreline Generator. I programmed this to be realistic. Why on earth is it randomly picking 9-2 for a scoreline? That is crazy. But it's going to be 1-1.
Always tight in the M23 derby. Both to score, 1-1 draw. Fair result overall.
Aston Villa versus Bournemouth. Another game which is looking really equal. Just like the Crystal Palace-Brighton game, this is an incredible, equal, even-Steven match. I'm going to go for a Desmond Tutu because Bournemouth in the attack still look really good. They played Man City. I know I got it wrong. I said they'll get a draw and they didn't, but it's against Man City. They are out of this world. They just beat Dortmund 4-1. Aston Villa haven't exactly been perfect all season in terms of they started off terrible. But then they were starting to get on some good form, and Unai Emery started mastering his tactics. So it's going to have to go down the middle. I could list all the players, and player for player, it is reasonably equal. At the moment, Aston Villa are obviously playing in the Europa League, so they might be tired. But I feel like Aston Villa cannot go another game with a loss. Neither can Bournemouth. I think they're too good to do that, so it's going to equal to a draw.
Villa too strong at home. 2-0 to Aston Villa, routine win under Emery.
The G-Tech Community Stadium is up next. Brentford versus Newcastle United. Dan Burn. Wow, that's all I have to say when Newcastle won 2-0 against Athletic Club. Beautiful by Dan Burn. Amazing reaction from the 3-1 West Ham loss. And it really does seem like Newcastle turn into a different team in a bad way when they go away from home. Newcastle have not won for like over 6 months now, surely, away from home. In the Premier League, that is. I'm confident coming into this game. When Brentford faced Crystal Palace in that London derby, obviously they did show some good qualities, but also I thought it was a bit scrappy at times by Brentford, and that's a bit concerning. And I still feel like they're not out of the clear to get relegated. Now with the likes of Nottingham Forest and West Ham finding their groove, I think that opens up an option for Brentford to fall in. Newcastle are going to finish in the top 6 in my opinion. The way Newcastle play at home can easily be replicated away from home. 100%, there's no way it can. I'm going 3-1 Newcastle. You might think it's a bit hopeful from me, but no, trust me. Brentford are still in trouble, and they do not look perfect. They definitely look good, but still something about Brentford which I'm not confident with. And with Nathan Collins looking a bit shaky in the last game against Crystal Palace, that Newcastle attack is going to be scary for that shaky Brentford defence.
Brentford's solid, but Newcastle clinical. So, 2-1 to Newcastle, with a late winner likely.
Over to the City ground, it is Nottingham Forest versus Leeds United. Nottingham Forest under Sean Dyche definitely seems more promising than under Ange. They got their first win under Sean Dyche straight away against Porto, winning 2-0. Against Manchester United, they looked amazing. Morgan Gibbs-White looked like his electric self going forward. And if Chris Wood and Hudson-Odoi are available for this game from injury, this is going to make it even harder for Leeds United. And I feel like Nottingham Forest are starting to find their groove under Sean Dyche. And considering Nottingham Forest haven't won since the start of the season, that's 9 games since they won against Brentford 3-1 in the Premier League, they are due a win. And what better team to get a win than Leeds United? Leeds United, they're newly promoted. Leeds United, they're in 16th position. Leeds United have only got 4 points in their last 5 games. And in terms of their away form, Leeds United, they have lost 4 out of their last 5 games away from home. And considering the manager bounce under Sean Dyche, I think is working, from what I've seen, maybe the results aren't as pleasing to say, wow, Nottingham Forest are changing loads, but the performances and the stuff that is changing seems promising. They might still have some concerns defending set pieces, Nottingham Forest, but against Leeds United, which got thrashed against Brighton, this is the perfect time for them to get their first win. At home, under Sean Dyche, 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. Look, Leeds United, if this was 1 month ago, I would go for you to win or draw away from home. And I'm still tempted to say a draw because Nottingham Forest still have problems, even under Sean Dyche. But what I've seen from Nottingham Forest, the way things are going, they will stay up and they will get 3 points. And Leeds United's energetic attack, they will get loads of shots of that attack, but they're not clinical whatsoever. And we've seen it against Burnley, a defensive-minded manager like Scott Parker and like Sean Dyche, Leeds United struggle against, because the way Sean Dyche plays is going to make it very hard for Leeds United to score, because a lot of blocks is going to happen from the likes of Milinkovic and Murillo. Nottingham Forest is going to finally get their first win.
Forest struggling, Leeds energetic. So 2-1 to Leeds United, a narrow away victory.
Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium versus Liverpool. This is game of the week, and so is Tottenham versus Man United. I mean, these are some juicy, close games. I've already gone for 3 draws so far. Do I make it a 4th? Because Liverpool, I said that they will bounce back against Aston Villa, and they did. I said they will play well, and they did. That was probably their best Premier League performance all season against Aston Villa, winning 2-0. They then went on and proved me wrong, because I said they would draw against Real Madrid, but they won, and they got back-to-back clean sheets. The midfield 3 has stayed consistent since the Aston Villa win. Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, and McAllister. That's a great balance. And Conor Bradley. Wowza, what a performance versus Real Madrid. Liverpool are insane. They're back on it. They are not losing this even away from home. But then Man City are also doing amazing. This is true 50-50. If Man City played Liverpool before the Crystal Palace Carabao Cup, Manchester City will be winning this. But because they're playing Liverpool now, they're not winning. But it's so hard to go against Manchester City right now. Erling Haaland is continuing to score. Scored in that confident win versus Dortmund 4-1. And scored a brace against Bournemouth. But it wasn't just him that scored against Dortmund. Other players scored. Phil Foden scored. Shirky scored. We're seeing other players starting to score. Man City are doing too well. You know where this is going. Too many positives for both sides. Comes down to a Desmond Tutu. I really don't know who's going to win. Down the middle, sitting on the fence.
Top clash, both sides elite. So 2-2 draw, no one quite able to finish it off.
As ChatGPT copies me and saying 2-2, we move on to goal of the week. And I am giving it to Amad Diallo. That was a great strike to equalise against Nottingham Forest. And I'm going to have to give a runners-up. I'm giving it to Iliman Ndiaye as well. That was absolutely brilliant goal. His dribbling and ball control for that goal really does tip it over to be one of the goals of the week. Let me know what you think of all our predictions. Get your comments down below. If you want, you can like and subscribe. It definitely helps me to make better videos. And I will see you in the next video. But for now, toodaloo.